Gustav set to slam ashore later today on the scheduled first day of the Republican convention. So how will it impact Senator John McCain's bid for the White House? Joining me now is Marc Lamont Hill, a Temple University professor and syndicated radio talk show host. Mike Gallagher, host of the Mike Gallagher Show. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
All right, so Mike, let me start with you. Obviously, huge concerns for what's going on down south with this killer hurricane potentially coming ashore. But at the same time, we're at the Republican National Convention, or are we? What's going to happen?
I just hate that we're not really able to act like grown-ups, and we're so worried about political sensitivity that we can't be adults and acknowledge there are two very real events going on in our country right now. A very dangerous, potentially killer storm that we have to watch, and a real important part of the political process, this Republican National Convention. But I think people are tiptoeing around here saying, we better be careful. We can't look like we're celebrating when there's a hurricane.
But we can't.
You know what? But that's childish, though. You're right, and I know they're right.
The Republicans can't give off that image. Can they, Dr. Hill?
No, particularly in a post-Katrina context where people feel that the government and the White House in particular were indifferent to the suffering of vulnerable American people. If the potential president is doing the same thing, it would look very bad. I agree with Mike that it should be that way, but it can't be that way in this moment. But the one thing I would quickly add is that I think John McCain has the potential to look even more successful, look even more like a leader by being selfless in the wake of this crisis rather than having the convention.
Yeah,
Interesting.
But Democrats say that. I don't know that, and I trust you, Mark, but a lot of Democrats don't mean it. Look at Donnie Fowler laughing on the airplane about the hurricane's arrival and the timing of this. I saw Lanny Davis last night on Hannity and Colmes saying, well, it's too bad that this is taking things away from the convention. I mean, let's face it, this is great timing politically. It's too bad that we even have to talk politics. I think we ought to just go forth with this thing and just act like adults and grown-ups.
All right, Dr. Hill, if you can just hold your thoughts, because we do have to go to a quick break, and then we'll come back with both of these gentlemen who were kind enough to get up very early for us this morning. We'll be right back. And as well as Bill Clinton. Okay, you got to see this. Have you seen the video over the weekend? He leans in to kiss his wife, Hillary, and she goes for Barack Obama instead. So is it a big snub or not a big deal? See it again and decide for yourself.
And what will happen later in the week all depends on Gustav. Brian, back to you.
Absolutely, but you'll be talking to the First Lady, though, in about an hour and a half, correct?
Yes, he's referring to Gretchen here. Thanks very much, Caroline. Yes, I'm going to go over to Excel Center, and I'm going to speak to the First Lady. She was also supposed to speak tonight, but that has also been canceled, but she is still here in St. Paul. In the meantime, we're continuing our conversation with Mike Gallagher and with Dr. Marc Lamont Hill, who is live for us out in Pennsylvania. All right, so Mike, let me talk about this whole RNC situation, because you're saying, well, maybe this is a potentially, good thing for John McCain, and we should just continue the political process here. But by all accounts, they're going to see what happens with this storm today, and we may have no convention tomorrow either.
Well, and again, I get back to the fact that I think people of all political stripes understand activist Democrats are going to criticize anything the Republicans do here. You're still going to have a split screen on Fox News Channel showing Gustav and a convention. So I don't know why we don't act like grown-ups and say, you know what, these are two major important events that have to go forward. Forget the Michael Moore faction. Forget the Donnie Fowler faction. You got to do what you got to do here. I understand there's got to be sensitivity. Nobody here isn't concerned about the welfare of these people in the storm, but you don't shut the convention down because there's a storm. I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense.
And Mark, what do you do if you're Barack Obama? He says, I don't want to go down there and cause a hoopla because all the Secret Service has to follow me around. The president thinks the same thing, but went to a staging area. If you're Barack Obama, do you just sit out for the week?
No, I mean, I think you organize your volunteers. I mean, he has an extensive list of millions of people who he can, sort of galvanize and mobilize to help participate here. I think one of the things that George Bush got a bad rap on was the fact that people always want him to show up for media, photo ops in the middle of disasters, and all that does is cause a distraction and take up so much space. I think Barack Obama should actually avoid those things and just organize his volunteers.
I mean, Mark, I was going to say, when Barack Obama said he's not going to go because of the Secret Service, how many times did we hear people say, oh, President Bush just flew over Katrina on Air Force One. What a terrible, insensitive thing to do. And I talked to President Bush about this in the Oval Office once, and he said to me, Mike, do you have any idea what it entails every time I go to a scene like this?
Yeah, so it's kind of a no-win situation, though, for a politician.
That's my point, and it's a no-win situation for the Republicans here in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Specifically for this week, where we're supposed to see John McCain here, how is that going to play off?
Listen.
Is it a no-win situation for him.
It is, in a big way. And we can sit around and do lip service and say this shows that he's got leadership potential and all that. The fact is there's a big wet blanket being thrown over this convention. Everybody knows it. It's regrettable, and that's why, again, be respectful, be civil. Let's just hope this storm moves through, minimal damage, and we can get on with business here in St. Paul.
And I'll tell you what else is important, too. You have a Republican governor, Bobby Jindal. If he is truly a superstar, let's see how he acts in action in times of trouble. Let's see if a Republican administration, they could maybe John
Well,
McCain
I think we've already seen though how he's reacted thus far as preparation. Wouldn't you agree with that, Dr. Hill?
Oh, absolutely. I think he's been great, and that's why I maintain that this could be a major victory for the GOP. There's no time for tension and drama like there was last week at the DNC. This is an opportunity for Republicans to show leadership, to show patriotism, and to say that this transcends Democratic and Republican. No, I'm not being like romantic here or naive. I mean, I agree with you.
Are you really rooting for the Republicans to have a big home run here? Are you really, Mark?
Honestly, Mike, I'm rooting for American people to be safe, and I mean, of course, I would love for the Democrats to be able to do that as well. And if Barack Obama's smart, he'll jump in here and try and help out too with his volunteers. But I don't think this is going to hurt the GOP if they act as responsibly as John McCain has suggested they will. That's all I'm saying.
Well, so far so good, I guess. I mean, we're off to a good start in terms of his position, his posture on this. But still, I say the American people know this is a crucial event. We got a lot at stake here in this country.
All right, we're going to do right now. Hey, Mike, Mark, great debate as usual. We'll talk to you all week long and try to stay up with the hurricane as well as what's happening between both tickets.
And I think while we were having that discussion that there is now a tornado warning. Is that true? Tornado warning being posted for New Orleans. So the storm is ready to come ashore here, Brian.